No kids' show was as tragic as Pee-wee's Playhouse. Kids loved it, but the media tried to bury it alive. This used to be the most colorful house on Saturday mornings on CBS, a show with puppets, clay stop motion, hand-drawn animation. It looked like some crazy thing for kids, but it was really an art experiment that won 15 Emmys. But behind that house, nothing was as clean as the paint on the walls. Paul Reubens stayed a childhood icon until he was arrested at an adult movie theater, was exposed as gay, and endured 6 years of cancer until his death. Phil Hartman. Captain Carl was killed in a murder-suicide. Shaun Weiss, the Elvis kid, fell into meth and homelessness, leaving old fans stunned. Today we're looking back at those 11 faces, and at the end of the video, 5 secrets buried under all that nostalgia will make it hard for you to see Playhouse as innocent as before. Watch to find out why the rumor that the show died because of the 1991 scandal is a lie. Number 1, Paul Reubens as Pee-wee Herman. There's no other name we could start today's list with besides our Pee-wee, the man children loved the most and the media tore apart the most. Paul Reubens was born in 1952. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered on CBS in 1986, he was 34. He did not just play Pee-wee Herman, he created that character, held the creative center of that show, and turned a gray suit with a red bow tie into one of the most unforgettable images of American television in the 80s. During its original run, Pee-wee's Playhouse won 15 Emmy Awards. What matters is that Pee-wee did not begin as a clean, safe kids character packaged for Saturday mornings. The character rose out of adult comedy theater through Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985 and only then stepped onto CBS in 1986. Kids knew Pee-wee before they knew Paul Reubens, and that is exactly why every fall Paul had later got blown up into a stain on all of our childhood memories. In 1991, Reubens was arrested at an adult movie theater in Sarasota, Florida, on an indecent exposure charge. CBS immediately pulled 5 rerun episodes of Pee-wee's Playhouse from its August schedule. Disney MGM Studios also cut a video featuring Pee-wee from its backstage tour. Later, he pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor indecent exposure charge, was fined $50, and had to make a public service message against drugs. In 2002, he got caught up in a heavier legal case tied to accusations involving child pornography materials. By 2004, the more serious charges were dropped, and Reubens pleaded guilty to misdemeanor obscenity. The documentary Pee-wee as himself later gave Paul Reubens a late chance to reclaim his own story. The film said directly what Reubens had hidden for almost his whole life: he was gay. A gay man being the face of a children's show in the 80s really had no choice but to hide it, because his career would absolutely have been damaged if he had come out publicly. Paul Reubens died on July 30, 2023 at age 70 after quietly fighting illness for 6 years. The documentary about him later won Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Special at the Creative Arts Emmys in 2025. I am not saying Paul Reubens was a perfect person. Nobody gets through this life as clean as a Saturday morning show. But I still believe the press ripped his name apart just for views. Number 2, Laurence Fishburne as Cowboy Curtis. Do you recognize him? The man who played Cowboy Curtis in Pee-wee's Playhouse later became Laurence Fishburne Morpheus from The Matrix. Fishburne was born in 1961. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, he was 25. Early in his career, he was still credited as Larry Fishburne, and when he walked into Playhouse, he was no rookie. Before that, he had already done Apocalypse, Now, The Color Purple, and The Cotton Club. Cowboy Curtis was a supporting role, but the man under that cowboy hat already had far more experience than most of the young viewers at the time could imagine. After Playhouse, Fishburne did not take the long way around. He appeared in Boys in the Hood in 1991, won a Tony Award in 1992 for the play, 2 Trains Running, then was nominated for an Oscar in 1993 for playing Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It. By 1999, The Matrix made him Morpheus. From that point on, audiences no longer saw him as a supporting face. He kept his position with CSI, Hannibal Black, Ish, John Wick, and many other projects. Fishburne joined Apocalypse Now when he was only around 14 or 15. Later, he said there was a scene involving sex that made him deeply uncomfortable, and he had to shoot it more than 40 times. Martin Sheen encouraged him after that experience. He learned the craft early, but the price was not light. And here's the part we cannot soften: Fishburne once admitted that he abused his first wife. He has also spoken about anger control issues and said therapy helped him face the person he did not want to keep becoming. This year, Laurence Fishburne is 65 and is still active in film and television. Cowboy Curtis now feels like a rare old photo, not Fishburne's biggest role, but proof that before he became Morpheus, he already knew how to survive every kind of role, every kind of movie, and every kind of Hollywood darkness. Number 3, Lynne Marie Stewart as Miss Yvonne. And if Pee-wee was the heart of Playhouse, then Miss Yvonne was the female face that old viewers could almost never forget. Lynne Marie Stewart was born in 1946 in Linwood, California. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, she was 40. If she were still alive, she would be 80 this year. She died on February 21, 2025 at age 78. Stewart did not walk into Playhouse as some random face. She was a longtime comedian and a member of the Groundlings, where she met Paul Reubens and Phil Hartman, two names deeply tied to Pee-wee. Miss Yvonne was called the most beautiful woman in Puppetland. Stewart did not just play this role on CBS. She created Miss Yvonne in The Pee-wee Herman Show in 1981, then carried that character into Pee-wee's Playhouse, the revival in Los Angeles in 2010, and the Broadway version that opened in November 2010. She stayed with Pee-wee across several lives on stage and television, not just through one short supporting role. Outside Pee-wee Stewart's career was much wider. She had a small role in American Graffiti in 1973, appeared in MASH, Laverne, and Shirley the Golden Girls and Arrested Development. She also appeared in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Big Top, Pee-wee, and Pee-wee's Big Holiday. To younger viewers, she was also Bonnie Kelly Charlie's mother in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a role that lasted from 2005 to 2023. Stewart did not have a loud scandal to sell her name cheaply. The heavier part of her life story was friendship and loss. She and Paul Reubens were close for decades. She once visited him in the hospital before he died and said Paul still had his humor until the very end. The two of them also put their characters back on to take part in Make-A-Wish activities meeting children with serious illnesses. Late in life, Stewart was still working. She had just finished filming The Dink and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in mid-December, then went to the doctor because she was exhausted. Doctors found a tumor between her liver and gallbladder, and she passed very quickly. Her family got to see her final cut just one day before she died. Number 4, Phil Hartman as Captain Carl. Captain Carl only appeared in the first season of Pee-wee's Playhouse, but the man who played him was Phil Hartman, one of the most reliable comedy performers American television has ever had. Hartman was born in 1948 in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, he was 38. He did not enter the Pee-wee world as an ordinary supporting actor. Hartman was a member of the Groundlings, the same comedy world that brought Paul Reubens, Lynne Marie Stewart, and many other faces together. In Pee-wee's Playhouse, Hartman played Captain Carl, a gruff sea captain, who was only in the first season but was very easy to remember. Still playing Captain Carl was only a small part of what he contributed. Hartman had played the character in The Pee-wee Herman Show, then co-wrote Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985 with Paul Reubens and Michael Varhol. In other words, he did not just stop by Playhouse. He was there in the foundation of the entire Pee-wee phenomenon. Also in 1986, Hartman joined Saturday Night Live. He stayed for 8 seasons, became famous for his ability to transform especially into Bill Clinton, and was called the Glue because he could hold a sketch together just by the rhythm of his performance. In 1989, he won a Primetime Emmy for his work on SNL. After that, he played Bill McNeil in News Radio and voiced Troy McClure, Lionel Hutz, and many other characters on The Simpsons. He also appeared in Jingle All the Way, Small Soldiers House Guest, and Sergeant Bilko. On May 28, 1998, Hartman was shot to death by his wife, Bryn Hartman, while he was asleep at their home in Encino, California. Bryn then took her own life. Their 2 young children, Shaun 9 and Bergen 6, were in the house that night. Police got them out. The press later reported that Bryn had alcohol, cocaine, and antidepressants in her system, and that she had struggled with substance abuse. Hartman's death stunned Hollywood. The Groundlings canceled their show that night. The Simpsons also canceled rehearsal. His 2 children were raised by relatives and grew up fairly privately. Hartman died at age 49. Later, he was inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame and received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2014. Captain Carl may have been only a small role in Playhouse, but Phil Hartman was not small at all. His death is still a cut that American comedy has never truly closed. Number 5, John Paragon as Jambi the Genie / Terry. I believe you are the same as me, because just hearing this line makes a piece of childhood jump awake like it was never asleep. John Paragon was born in 1954 in Anchorage, Alaska. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, he was 32. He was part of the Groundlings, the same comedy world that brought Paul Reubens, Phil Hartman, Lynne Marie Stewart, and Cassandra Peterson close together. In Pee-wee's Playhouse, he played Jambi the Genie, the green head in the purple box. He also voiced Terry the Pterodactyl, wrote many episodes, directed, and worked closely with Paul Reubens on the magic bits, sketches, and camera angles. Paragon also co-wrote Pee-wee's Playhouse Christmas Special in 1988, a program nominated for an Emmy for writing in a children's special. And if you only remember him as Jambi, that is still not enough. He was also an extremely important writing partner for Cassandra Peterson, the creator of Elvira. Peterson once said that without John, Elvira would not have become the character audiences know. Paragon was her writing partner for 27 years, co-wrote Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and helped create a cult comedy style that was sharp, strange, and very American. Outside Pee-wee, he appeared in Eating Raoul Airplane 2, the sequel Pee-wee's Big Adventure UHF, The Frog Prince, and had directing credits on Silk Stockings. He did not become Morpheus like Fishburne, and he did not become an SNL legend like Hartman, but anyone who understands cult comedy knows John Paragon had his fingerprints in many places. Late in life, Paragon lived more privately. Longtime friends grew worried when they could not reach him. He died on April 3, 2021 in Palm Springs, but news of his death was only made public a few months later. He died at age 66 from heart disease with chronic alcohol abuse listed as a significant contributing factor. Number 6, Epatha Merkerson as Reba the Mail Lady. Before she became the steel-faced presence of Law & Order, Epatha Merkerson had her first television role in Pee-wee's Playhouse. Merkerson was born in 1952 in Saginaw, Michigan. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, she was 34. This year she is 74. She did not enter the profession through an easy path. Before she became a familiar face on television, Merkerson was a stage actor, and she had spoken about how hard it was for black women to find worthy lead roles. In Pee-wee's Playhouse, she played Reba, the mail lady, the mail carrier who stepped into a house full of robots, puppets, and strange little games. Reba was not the biggest role on the show, but it was very important to Merkerson's career because it was her first television role. After Playhouse, Merkerson built an extremely durable career. From 1993 to 2010, she played Lieutenant Anita Van Buren on Law & Order, appearing in 395 episodes across 17 seasons. For many male viewers who grew up with American television in the 90s, Van Buren was the kind of character who did not need to speak loudly to make the whole room listen. She also won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a SAG Award for Lackawanna Blues. Since 2015, she has continued playing Sharon Goodwin on Chicago Med. Merkerson's private life has no major scandal, but it does have very real battles. She smoked for 23 years, then became an anti-smoking advocate after watching a close friend die of lung cancer. In 2003, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That disease was not unfamiliar to her family. Her father and grandmother both died from diabetes complications. Reba entered Playhouse with a mailbag. Epatha Merkerson left it with a career so long it deserves respect. No scandal, no noise. She proved that some actors win by stubbornly surviving one television season after another. Number 7, Gilbert Lewis and William Marshall as the King of Cartoons. In Pee-wee's Playhouse, the King of Cartoons was the character who came out to introduce the old animated clips. He did not stick around, as long as Pee-wee did not have a stage tragedy like Captain Carl, and did not have a magic phrase that got burned into your memory like Jambi. But every time he said, "Let the cartoon begin," viewers knew a little piece of old American television was about to appear. Gilbert Lewis was the first King of Cartoons, appearing in Season 1 in 1986, when the show was still being filmed in New York, but after the first season production moved to California, and his role was recast because of cost. This was not a scandal, not some loud firing. It was the cold kind of thing television does. The location changes, the budget changes, and people get replaced too. Lewis died in 2015 at age 79. Outside Pee-wee's Playhouse, he also appeared in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, General Hospital, Law and Order, Candyman, Don Juan DeMarco, and many other television roles. But to old Pee-wee fans, he will always be the first king to wear that cartoon crown. The man who replaced him was William Marshall, and this is the part that makes this small role feel so respectable. Marshall was born in 1924. When he played the king of cartoons from 1987 to 1990, he was already over 60. Before that, he was not some unknown supporting actor. He had been Othello on stage. Dr. Daystrom in Star Trek had appeared in The Jeffersons and was widely known to the public for Blackula. William Marshall died in 2003 at age 78 after spending his final years with Alzheimer's. A man who once had a big voice, a big presence, and a big stage was slowly pulled away from the spotlight by that disease. The king of cartoons only appeared for a few minutes each time, but the two men who wore that crown carried more history than we ever realized when we were kids. Number 8. Natasha Lyonne as Opal. You might be surprised to see that one little girl from the Playhouse gang later became one of Hollywood's fiercest comebacks. Lyonne was born in 1979 in New York City. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, she was only 7. This year, she is 47. Opal was only a small role in the first season Playhouse gang, but for Lyonne, it was a real starting point. She once said Paul Reubens was the person who gave her one of her first chances in the business, and after he died, she sent a deeply moving tribute to that old friend. After Playhouse, Lyonne moved fast. She appeared in Dennis the Menace, Everyone Says I Love You, then broke through with Slums of Beverly Hills in 1998. In 1999, she became an unforgettable face of the late 90s with American Pie and But I'm a Cheerleader. She was not the kind of female lead polished until she looked too perfect. Lyonne had a raspy voice, tired but sharp eyes, and the kind of personality that makes men like us look at her and know she is not acting to please anybody. But in the early 2000s, everything fell hard. Lyonne struggled with heroin and alcohol. She was arrested for drunk driving in 2001. In 2004, she got into legal trouble again over threatening behavior toward a neighbor and their dog. In 2005, she was admitted to an ICU in New York with multiple health problems, including a collapsed lung and hepatitis. The charges were later dismissed after she completed court-ordered rehab in 2006. She quit heroin in 2006, but her body had already taken heavy damage. After that, Lyonne had to undergo open-heart surgery. The scar that shows up in Orange is the New Black was not makeup. It was the real mark of someone who had once been very close to the edge. Then she came back. In 2013, Lyonne played Nikki Nichols in Orange is the New Black and was nominated for an Emmy in 2014. With Russian Doll, she was not only the lead, but also a co-creator, writer, director, and executive producer. The series received 13 Emmy nominations in 2019. After that, Poker Face brought her another Emmy nomination in 2023. Recently, Lyonne publicly said she had relapsed after many years of sobriety, then updated people that she had gotten back on her feet. Thank God, she was able to stand back up after that fall. Number 9, Shaun Weiss. As Elvis, Shaun Weiss was once the little Elvis in the Playhouse gang, but American audiences of the 90s remember him more as Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks. Weiss was born in 1979 in New Jersey. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, he was about 7. This year, he is 47. He entered Hollywood very early, not like an adult choosing a career, but like a kid being tossed into the world of sets and cameras. According to Weiss himself, when he auditioned for Pee-wee's Playhouse, he was only 6 and did not believe the bearded man wearing glasses in front of him was really Pee-wee Herman. Paul Reubens left the room, got fully made up as Pee-wee, then came back to help the little boy feel more comfortable. In the first season, Weiss played Elvis, a member of the Playhouse gang, along with Natasha Lyonne's Opal and Diane Yang's Cher. The role was not big, but it was one of his earliest credits. After that, Weiss landed the role that made an entire generation remember his face, Greg Goldberg, the goalie in the Mighty Ducks in 1992, then again in D2 and D3. He also appeared in Heavyweight's Boy Meets World, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Freaks and Geeks. Then everything dropped very far. As acting work dried up, Weiss fell into meth addiction, homelessness, lost many teeth, and got into legal trouble several times. In 2020, he was arrested in Marysville on accusations of residential burglary and being under the influence of meth. His mugshot spread everywhere, and for anyone who remembered the round, funny Goldberg on the ice, that image was truly hard to look at. But what matters is that Weiss did not disappear at the bottom. He entered recovery, publicly shared his sobriety journey, and by 2022 he had celebrated 2 years sober. In 2023, he returned to acting in Jesus Revolution, his first role in 14 years. In 2024, he even returned to the ice and goalie gear wearing a Ducks jersey after celebrating 4 years of sobriety. Number 10. Alisan Porter as Lil Punkin. Porter was born in 1981 in Worcester, Massachusetts. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, she was only 5. This year she is 45. On the show, she played Lil Punkin, a member of the Season 2 Playhouse gang. The role was small, not the kind of character placed at center stage like Pee-wee or Miss Yvonne, but for Porter, it was part of growing up in front of the camera. After Playhouse, Porter moved fast. She appeared in Parenthood's Stella, I Love You to Death, and then in 1991, she became a face all of America knew with Curly Sue, starring alongside Jim Belushi. If you're an American man who grew up with family movies in the early 90s, the name Curly Sue barely needs explaining. But that was also a very big shadow. When audiences remember you forever as a little girl growing up into a real artist is not easy at all. Porter did not disappear, but she had to change lanes. She moved into theater, and music appeared in The Ten Commandments in 2004, then played Bebe in the Broadway revival of A Chorus Line in 2006. She released her first solo album in 2009. It was not a loud path, but it was the path of someone trying to take back the right to define herself. In 2014, Porter publicly admitted she was an alcoholic. She said she had been sober since October 28, 2007. In 2016, she stepped onto the stage of The Voice Season 10, sang Blue Bayou, got all 4 coaches to turn their chairs, chose Christina Aguilera, and eventually won the whole season. That win also made Aguilera the first female coach to have a contestant win The Voice in the United States. Today, Porter has remarried. Justin DeVera has 3 children, Mason Aria and Shiloh, and continues releasing music including the EP The Ride and the single Bleedin'. Lil Punkin was a small role, but Alisan Porter turned it into the first chapter of a second life. And today's final face is even stranger, an actor who had passed through dark cinema then showed up as a neighbor in Pee-wee's childhood house. Number 11, Shirley Stoller as Mrs. Steve. The final face on today's list is not a comeback star, but a very strange contrast. Shirley Stoller, someone who once haunted cult cinema of the 70s, then became the annoying neighbor in Pee-wee's house. Stoller was born in 1929 in Brooklyn, New York. When Pee-wee's Playhouse premiered in 1986, she was 57. She was not the sweet sitcom type, walking into a kid's show just to add a little color. Before that, Stoller already had a fierce, rough, very adult career. She stood out in The Honeymoon Killers in 1970, a cold and unsettling true crime film where she played Martha Beck, a character based on the Lonely Hearts Killers case. After that, she also appeared in Seven Beauties Clute, The Deer Hunter Desperately Seeking Susan Miami Blues Law and Order, and Malcolm X. In Pee-wee's Playhouse, she played Mrs. Steve the neighbor, from the first season appearing in 7 episodes. What makes Stoller even more memorable is her battle inside the profession. She once said weight should not be a barrier, but casting people were afraid of it. Hollywood saw her body before it saw her talent, then often pushed her into harsh, strange, unpleasant roles. That was not a scandal, but it was the kind of quiet unfairness character actors have to swallow for years. Shirley Stoller died in 1999 at age 69 from heart failure after a long illness. She did not go out with the loud shock of Phil Hartman, and she did not get a late reappraisal like Paul Reubens. But she is a very strange way to close today's 11 Faces a Woman who once carried the darkness of cult cinema right up to Pee-wee's front door. And after this list, we are still not leaving Playhouse yet. Behind that colorful house are 5 old secrets, 5 stories buried under the nostalgia, and a few things that may make longtime fans look back at this show with completely different eyes. After those 11 faces, I want you to imagine you still have not turned off the TV. The episode is over, The music has faded down, but if you stay a few seconds longer after the credits, Playhouse starts to reveal a few things we were not old enough to recognize as kids. Right in the final credit line, the show still refuses to call Paul Reubens the normal way. With many other programs, everything would be very clear, this actor as that character. But Pee-wee's Playhouse keeps the magic trick going until the very last minute. It lets Pee Wee Herman appear as himself. As kids, that detail was just funny. Grown up, it feels like a warning. This character does not only live on the screen, it is hiding the man who created it. And Paul was not the only one hidden behind that magic trick. Even the first season kids, the faces that should have been the most innocent part of the house, disappeared faster than we remember. The Season 1 Playhouse gang had Shaun Weiss, Natasha Lyonne, and Diane Yang Kirk. On screen, they were kids walking into Pee-wee's crazy world, almost like stand-ins for the young viewers sitting in front of the TV. But after the first season, the whole group was replaced. According to behind-the-scenes stories fans have passed around for years, that group of kids was said to have left the show because of disruptive behavior on set. I do not want to turn that into a verdict because they were still children at the time, and that source needs to be treated carefully. But the disappearance of the whole group after the first season gives Playhouse a very strange break. A kids' show, but behind the scenes it was not necessarily as well behaved as it smiled at us. The more you look back, the more you realize that House replaced people more easily than we thought. Neighbors left, children left. Captain Carl became only a first-season memory. Many characters walked in and vanished as if Playhouse kept shedding its skin. But there was one person who was not allowed to disappear, Paul Reubens. He was the only one tied to the entire series from beginning to end. That sounds obvious because without Pee-wee, there is no Playhouse. But that obvious fact is exactly what feels heavy. When an entire world depends on one person, that person is no longer just performing. That person becomes the machine keeping the whole house lit. And a colorful machine like that does not ask whether the person inside can still take it. Some behind-the-scenes accounts say seasons 4 and 5 were filmed very close together with almost no normal break. That detail should be checked more if you want to nail it down as absolute truth. But what is more certain is that CBS wanted to continue with Season 6, and Paul Reubens said no. He was exhausted from having to live as Pee-wee full-time. He also wanted to make other ideas. Viewers saw Pee-wee as someone whose energy never ran out, but the man inside the gray suit could run out. Then the 1991 scandal entered the story like a black ink stain. Because it was so big, many people thought it was what killed Pee-wee's Playhouse, but the real ending was quieter and sadder. New episodes had already stopped before then. Paul had not wanted to return for Season 6. The arrest at the adult movie theater did not kill the show. It made CBS pull the reruns. It damaged Pee-wee's image. And most painfully, it killed the way America looked back at the show. So we have gone through 11 Faces, 5 Secrets, and a house that seemed like it only had laughter, but turned out to hold so many cracks. To me, Pee-wee's Playhouse is still one of the most creative shows ever to appear on American television. It had hand puppets, marionettes, clay animation, classic hand-drawn animation, stop-motion camp, fashion vocabulary lessons, talking objects, and even real-time computer animation. It taught children by making them play listen, look, guess, laugh, and then learn without even realizing it. The sad thing is the media was not always kind to the people who created that world. They were remembered through scandal, tragedy, addiction, illness, or headlines too small to hold an entire human life. As for me, I do not want to remember Playhouse only through the darkness. I want to remember it as a time when American television dared to go crazy in the most beautiful way. And you, which character brings back your childhood the most, and which story today hits you the hardest?